Hi everyone, it's Kristen with Junior Achievement. We have JW Lazzari here talking to us for part of the Career Speaker Series. Thanks for being here, JW.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're just going to jump right in. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So yeah, JW, I'm born and raised in Reno. Lived there most of my life. Proud product of Washington County School District. Graduated from Wooster High School. Happy to be a native Nevadan. There's not a ton of us, so I'm happy to be in that category. I grew up in the Reno area, like I said, involved in lots of activities like youth sports, wrestling, Little League baseball, things like that, where I met a lot of great friends and great contacts. But some of my most favorite memories as a kid growing up in Reno were really just riding my bike with my friends and my cousins all over old Reno and making sure I could make a stop at my grandparents' house for a snack and a cold drink. That's really one of my favorite things about growing up in Reno. I love living in Northern Nevada and still work here and love contributing to our communities. It's a special place, and I think we don't realize how lucky we are living in Northern Nevada from all of our lakes and our outdoor activities and all of the cultural events that we have. It's really a great place to live. My family came to Nevada in the 1930s, really during the Depression. Most of them were looking for a way to improve their life. They didn't have much. They kind of came from the rags, and they lived in Winnemucca and Fallon and the Reno area. And they really were all hard workers, and that hard work was really instilled in me from my grandparents and my parents. I'm happily married to my wife Cassandra for 11 years. We have two very independent, strong-willed little girls who keep us on our toes. I love spending time with them as much as possible. I currently work for Western Nevada College in Carson City. That's our main campus. We also have a campus in Minden and in Fallon, and then a big presence online as well. At the college, I'm the Director of Financial Assistance. I've been here since 2007. I started as an intern, which I'm sure I'll talk more about here in a little bit. And then I moved into student outreach. Then I was the student employment coordinator. Then I was a counselor, and then back to financial assistance as the director in 2014. Working here has been really a great experience and really one of the best experiences of my life.
Awesome.
So yeah, what else do you want to know?
No, that was a lot of great information. So I just have a question that's not on our typical sheet, but with you being the director of financial aid and assistance, if some of us students were thinking that we wanted to go to college, but maybe couldn't afford the tuition, what would be some starting points to get that going?
Sure. So there's lots of opportunities for students to explore when they're thinking about funding their education. And really the starting point for those of you that are maybe seniors is looking at the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And that's essentially the application that will help schools determine your eligibility for different grant programs, work study programs, and student loan programs. Most schools use the FAFSA to determine your eligibility for any federal aid, state aid, and institutional aid. So that's really one of the main starting points. Schools also have their own scholarship application processes, so we encourage students to work directly with their financial aid office at whatever school you're thinking about going to learn about their process and what the steps are to apply for those school-based scholarships. So there's a lot to it, and one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give any student is don't hesitate to ask. Lots of people are afraid to talk to their financial aid administrator because they don't know what questions to ask, and really just make contact with them and they'll help walk you through the steps.
Perfect. So I know what you do now. When you were in high school, is that what you had planned for your future?
Oh, no. No, nobody really dreams about growing up to become a financial aid administrator or a director of financial aid. That's probably not on anybody's career plan. It kind of happened by chance. Really, my goal was, after graduating from high school, I went off to college and I went to the University of Wyoming for a couple of years, and then I transferred back to the University of Nevada, Reno. And my goal was to finish my degree in business, which is what I did. And I always had in my mind that maybe I wanted to be some sort of like casino executive or some sort of casino mogul. seemed really exotic and like cool. Um, but that wasn't really like where my heart was, I guess. It just seemed cool, and I thought people would think it was cool. So while I was at UNR finishing my bachelor's degree, I was a student employee working on the campus there in the Sanford Center for Aging. And as while I worked there, I graduated and I was trying to figure out what my next steps were. They offered me a part-time position. So I worked part-time as a temporary employee, working on their website, doing a few other projects. And what I realized during that part-time position is I loved working at a campus, and I loved working with students, and I loved working with faculty and staff who were trying to make better programs for students and help increase opportunities for students. So I realized that was really my path. But I had this degree in business, and I wasn't really sure how that fit in to that kind of path. So I explored options, and I found a program at UNR where I got my master's in counseling and educational psychology. And my emphasis was focused on college student development. So my goal was to work with college students and help them figure out their path. Because a lot of us go through high school or through college and we're kind of floundering, we're not sure, and we pick a path and we stick with it because we've done so much already. We don't want to start over. So my goal was to work with those type of students, which I think was kind of me, but I didn't know that at the time. So I got my master's from UNR in counseling and educational psychology, which really set me up on the path to keep working with students at a school. And one of the best things about getting into my graduate program is they connected me to an internship here at Western Nevada College. And that's where I got my foot in the door and began working with students in the community college setting. So yeah, it wasn't what I planned for my life. And even being in financial aid, it just kind of happened. Yeah, even in being in financial aid, it wasn't what I planned. I thought I wanted to be a counselor and work with students on their career planning. But I had this background in business, and I was somewhat good at accounting and, business type activities. So really financial aid, you do a lot of that, but you do a lot of counseling with students. So it kind of all came together in a way I never expected.
Mm-hmm. Back to our high schoolers, I know that you played every sport in high school and were in all of the clubs and student body officer. So how do you think that prepared you for college and for the real world, and why would you maybe recommend getting involved in those certain things?
Sure. Yeah, I probably spread myself a little thin trying to do it all. But really, what I think that's all about is getting new experiences and learning new things and making new connections. So I don't think that everybody needs to do everything or be the best athlete, be in the most clubs, do all that stuff, but get involved in something and get committed to something because you build your leadership skills, you build your work ethic, you build experiences that can connect you to new experiences. And I would encourage anyone just to get involved and learn something new. And if you don't like that experience, you move on and you try something else. So try as many things as possible.
Awesome.
But it's also,
sorry, you were frozen for a second. Oh, let me pause you. All right, sorry everyone, because I'm working from home, we had a little dog incident, but we're back, and JW was just telling us the importance of being involved.
yeah, so like I was saying, I don't feel like students need to be involved in every single activity or spread themselves so thin, but being involved in something is super important because it helps build your leadership development. But it can also help on scholarship applications. It can help when you're trying to gain internships, and it really just helps build your resume.
Nice. Well, so that was a fun blast from the past, talking about your involvement in high school. Let's get back to your job now. Can you just run us through a typical day and kind of tell us even what goes on when you're not at work, because it'll help us see maybe the work-life balance that you have and just picture that.
Sure. Yeah. Work-life balance, and especially in this COVID situation, everything's kind of blended together. So coming back to that term, work-life balance is probably even more important for a lot of us. But a typical day for me is usually an 8 to 5 kind of day here in the office. That would consist of meeting with students, meeting with faculty and staff to build programs or revise programs or try to make them better. Probably my favorite part of my day is when I do get to meet with some students or parents and help them through the process and help them get to where they want to be. Right now, we're doing all of that via Zoom or Google Hangouts or on the phone. But in general, it's in person. So like I said, most of the time it's 8 to 5, but at the university system or at the community college, there's different types of employee types. So I'm considered administrative faculty. So really, we're here till the job gets done, whether that's you're working from the office or you have to finish it at home. It's really about making sure we get the job done to help our students. Oftentimes we have some weekend and evening events, and those might be like your financial aid nights. So if you have a financial aid and scholarship night at your high school, or even at your middle school, that's who's coming, somebody generally from the financial aid office to share information about what is financial aid, what types of financial aid might you be eligible for, and how to apply. So we do all sorts of presentations to high schools in the area that we serve, which is mainly Carson City, Douglas, Fallon, Dayton, Yarrington, Fernley, Smith Valley, those communities, where Truckee Meadows and Reno would serve most of the Reno and Sparks schools. So most of the day is really about meeting with people, making those connections, and helping people solve their problems. As an administrator, though, there's a lot of reporting that I have to do, and that's where my business background comes in somewhat handy. There's accounting that we need to make sure of. There's lots of reporting to the Department of Education on who got what grants, and we need to make sure that we've reported that accurately so we can stay eligible as a school to disperse financial aid. So those are really things that happen during the day. When I get home, it's really all about my girls, and it's about playing with the girls and playing in the backyard. We love summer for the summer evenings and our sunsets here in northern Nevada. The girls love to ride their bikes out in our cul-de-sac. So it's really about making sure that when I do get home, as best as I can to put the work away and focus on them. And that's what's been really hard during COVID and the isolation periods, because I'd be working at home and they would like my attention, but I also needed to work and get my job done. So trying to find that balance while working at home is challenging. And I think that most people would say, yeah, it was hard to do, and it is hard to do. It's easier when you can split it, some at the office and then be at home and then be home. So yeah.
Well, you answered my next question, how your life has kind of changed with the coronavirus and working from home and social distancing. Do you have any advice to our students about how they could prepare financially for really any crisis? But right now we're in one, which is the COVID-19 kind of crisis, but maybe you could give us some advice on how to prepare for a crisis like that.
Sure. Yeah, the isolation has been hard, and who could have predicted how hard this would be for families financially, emotionally, really like being separated from the things that you love to do every day is challenging. So finding that balance is definitely hard. To prepare financially, I think that we really should reflect on this time and realize the things that we've had to learn to live without. And that can help us when we open back up, help us reapproach our budgeting, knowing things that we don't really need. Like we don't really need to go to frozen yogurt all the time. We love it, but we don't need it, right? So really finding those needs and wants and finding that balance. I know in JA, that's one of the lessons, and sometimes that's hard to distinguish because you feel like, yeah, I need coffee, but do you need coffee from Starbucks? Finding out what is really a need and what is a want, and helping that shape your budget moving forward. I think that's one lesson that we can really all take from this situation. The other thing that I think folks are doing is they're really finding their hidden talents, and those can lead to lots of new opportunities, new business opportunities, which can be new different pay. So as maybe one job is shifting or reducing or ending, what other opportunities do you have and what talents do you have to offer? Because really, I think that this is a time for us to find those and maybe create something new and something better. for yourself. The other thing that all students should think about, and families in general, is what other types of support programs are going on. I know for college students during this COVID time, there was extra funds that came through their colleges through the CARES Act, and those were extra funds that could go to students to help them with these unexpected expenses. So for most college students, they were forced to move completely online. And for some of those students, that means that they had to figure out a better laptop or a printer, or they had to buy Wi-Fi because they were using the school's Wi-Fi. So figuring out if there's funds through your schools or through any other agencies or programs to help you make ends meet while things are extra tough. And then all sorts of different programs to help you better manage your money, and taking a hard look at how we can be better money managers. And I think that's important for all of us, whether you think you're the best money manager or not, but to reevaluate.
Perfect. Do you have any just general words of wisdom for our students?
Oh, general words of wisdom. Well, I sure appreciate this time, and hopefully some of my information has been helpful. I hope that as isolation continues, sorry, my light's turned off. I'm like on the auto light.
You'll see.
As isolation continues, that we can all find the best in each other, and we can find that best in where we live. I know for our family, that was doing things that we never would have done if isolation didn't happen. We never would have taken scavenger hunts on a midday walk. We wouldn't have set up obstacle courses in the backyard. So get creative, find fun things to do. But really, my words of wisdom for our partying, I guess, is to make sure you're trying new things. You can only learn from them, but if you never try, you'll never learn. Treat people how you want to be treated. That will take you the longest way in life. And some people come to the table with talent, but really that can't be replaced with hard work. So hard work is what really gets the job done. So hang in there and keep working hard and keep asking questions and asking for help.
That was amazing advice. Thank you, JW.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.